get to the money. Gotta get to the money. Early morning, so you know that I'm on it. So you know that I'm on it. Gotta make sure that my family straight. Gotta make sure that the kids and me. Gotta make sure that the bills is paid. And then let's get to the money. Get to the money. Early morning, so you know that I'm on it. And gotta make sure that my family straight. Gotta make sure that the kids and they. Gotta make sure that the bills is paid. And then let's get to the money. Get to the money.
Welcome to another episode of Drinking After Dark, a podcast where we discuss random topics while having a few drinks. I'm your host, Darius, and as always, drink responsibly. And y'all make sure y'all follow Drinking After Dark podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And y'all make sure y'all like and subscribe to Drinking After Dark podcast YouTube channel. Tonight, I'm not really drinking on anything tonight. I'm just drinking on the root beer tonight. So yeah, I'm just taking it easy for this particular episode. So, but usually y'all know I drink my Crown Royal vanilla mixed with Dr. Pepper cream soda, or I might mix it with a root beer or something like that. But if y'all have any suggestions, man, y'all make sure y'all hit me up in the comments, man. Let me know what else I should try out. I hope everybody had a great weekend and everything like that. I'm gonna talk about something, man, and I'm really glad to talk about this particular subject. All right. But y'all don't know, football season is back. I know a lot of you guys are ready for your teams to go out there, especially the NFL season. You know, they just finished up week 1, going into week 2. College football, you know, if you're just a football fan, you're just a sports fan like me, you know, I know you're excited and everything like that. But speaking with football, this is the question I'm going to present for my viewers, my listeners. The question is Deion Sanders the face of college football? Is Deion Sanders the face of college football? Now, I'm going to give you my opinion. My opinion is this. Yes, he is the face of college football. When you think about what he's doing, right? For one, Deion Sanders is one of the greatest athletes to ever walk this earth, right? We all know he is probably the greatest cornerback to ever play the game, one of the greatest football players to ever play the game, right? And not only that, but people forget he played in the majors too, Major League Baseball. So, y'all know Braves and Yankees. He played for them. So he's one of the greatest athletes to ever play sports, right? But he is also one of the most polarizing athletes ever, right? It was back in his Florida State days. You know, he always had, you know, a lot of guys have the it factor, and he always had the it factor. And they also call him prime, short for prime time. So his whole aura makes him who he is, right? Not only being a great father, but as you see now, from coaching on 3 different levels, you know, you look at high school, or really little league, high school. Then you look at what he did at Jackson State, and now what he's doing at Colorado. With the rule changes in terms of the NIL deals, and one thing what he's doing, this one makes him the face of college football right now. When you're the face of college football, all the attention is on you. Think about this for a second. All the eyeballs are on you. The first game, they beat TCU down in Texas, okay? Beat TCU. They were, you know, national runner-up last year. They lost to Georgia in the championship game last season. You went down there, you won on their field, right? 4 guys over 100 yards receiving. Sanders, the quarterback, 510 yards passing. Great offensive day, right? Struggled defensively. But the following Saturday, right? Think about this. The first home game. Well, let's talk about this. Let's talk the financial aspect of it first. So after that TCU game, the first home game was the following week, which was last Saturday. And tickets were usually around what, $30, $40, $50, for a college game. These tickets like were 10 times much. I mean, they went up so much. You had tickets that was like $400 or $500 on average. Okay. That's anytime you get, and this is why a lot of schools have these hires, because it's much more than what you do on the football field. There's a business aspect to it. Deion Sanders is good for business. And they sold out. And of course, they were going against their main rival, Nebraska. Okay. Celebrities came out. I mean, he brought out the celebrities. Like, how many celebrities you actually would see go to a Colorado game? Think about that. How many celebrities do you think actually went to a Colorado game? There were more eyes on the Colorado versus Nebraska game than the Texas and Alabama game. Think about that for a second. Texas and Alabama. And their game was prime time too, come to think about it. They were prime time, but they had more viewers. Nebraska versus Colorado had more viewers. That's the attention that Deion is bringing, okay? So you look at all the attention, and due to the fact that this team last year only won one game last year, that matched the total of the first game, they have surpassed it the second game. All right. So they're 2-0, right? Do I think they're gonna go undefeated? I don't think they are. But this has already shown they already having a better season than they did last year. Okay. Now, another thing Deion is doing, Coach, well, I'm gonna say Coach Prime. Another thing Coach Prime is doing is when he came to Colorado, he actually basically revamped the whole roster pretty much, right? And usually when you get that many players to come together the first year, it would take probably a year just to get everything, working together. And the players that he got to come to Colorado transfers. He used the transfer portal to his advantage. You got guys who played at Power 5 schools. You had some who played on the FBS level, who played a lot of football, right? So you bringing in experienced players, even though they haven't played with one another, right? You bringing in experienced players to basically, come in and restart this program, right? This program was the laughing stock last year, only winning one game. Now they're the most talked about team in all of college football. More so than Georgia. Georgia's going for its three-peat, all right? Talking more about Georgia. They're talking more about Alabama, Texas, the Oklahomas, the USCs, the Notre Dames, the Michigan States, Tennessee, Florida States, all these different programs, they're number one, right? And that's all because of Coach Prime, which really started with him leaving Jackson State and taking that Colorado job. That was already a big news anyway. And the way he goes about it, it's unorthodox, but it works. And then you have a lot of his critics out there, Lee Corso, Jason Whitlock, and I'm pretty sure, and there's some other ones as well. They have their platforms that don't like how Deion Sanders is doing what he's doing. Which brings up another point, right? It's like business, right? When something is not working, you have to clear the room, bring in new people to make it work. And at least he was honest, right? And some of those kids from last year's team, is starting for this year's team. So let's not say that, all of them left. No, I think it's about 20 players that came back from last year's team. And you got a couple of them that's starting because they wanted that challenge and they want to play for Coach Prime, right? And when you think about what they went through last year, the fact that they stayed and they wanted to see this process, and you can actually stay and you actually get to be coached by one of the greatest football players of all time, right? We ain't talking about one of the greatest college players of all time. We're talking about one of the greatest football players to ever play. And to have this guy coach you, I mean, why would you pass that opportunity up? Now, some guys couldn't handle it, right? Because a guy like Coach Prime has high expectations. So you want to try to meet those high expectations. But some of the guys couldn't because of what happened last year. I always say this, right? When you come from a losing situation and you trying to go in the next season, especially with a new coach going to bring new philosophies, right? And he basically said, hey, look, you can stay, but your job ain't guaranteed. Now, some of the players he was just honest with, like, hey, look, you should transfer, but we want to help you find a destination for you. But a lot of them quit because they couldn't handle it. And now look what happened now. Those players who stayed from last year's team, they worked through it. Some of them are starting, some of them might be reserves, but they playing. Spotlight is on them, right? And we all know when he brought his sons, he brought Travis Hunter, probably the best college football in the country. Let's put it that way. He might be the best college football player in the country. When he bring players with him, and then he's going to get them from the transfer portal, who has that experience, or they were somewhat promised playing time, but they didn't get that playing time. But they could come to Colorado and show everybody what their talents really is, and the spotlight is on them. Of course, they're going to take that chance. And I'm not mad at how Coach Prime is doing this. Now, when you look at some of the coaches now, you could tell they don't like this new thing. I mean, let's just be honest. Anytime something new comes around, there's always going to be some pushback because, it's not the normal. But once you get used to it, become the new normal and people start to adapt. But when you look at a Nick Saban, look at Dabo Sweeten, Alabama, Clemson, really don't use the portal. They just go straight recruiting 4 or 5-star recruits to come to their program. Unless you're like a top 10 player to ever in your class, you're probably not going to start, right? But even with that, they have to sit and wait their turn. They don't want to wait their turn. If they got an opportunity to go someplace else and really get a chance to start, Coach Prime right there waiting on them. Like, yeah, come on. And this was going to make Colorado dangerous. When the best athletes want to go to Colorado, they already said the number one prospect in the class of 2025 is going to go visit Colorado when they play USC in a couple of weeks from now. So he's getting phone calls from recruits, like top prospects, that want to come and visit Colorado. That's the impact that he's having. He don't have to, go sit. Well, he's going to go sit in living rooms, right? He's going to go sit in living rooms. Every coach does. When you go to recruit, you got to go sit in living rooms, talk with the parents, talk with the kids, not necessarily about football, but, stuff beyond football. But when you have a Coach Prime who's basically saying, hey, you're good enough to play for me. A guy like Coach Prime, why would you not take that opportunity to go play for one of the greatest to ever do it? Now, the days of Alabama, this is why I think Alabama's dynasty is probably going to start to crumble, because of you got the transfer portal, you got the NIL deals, you have all these factors that the good old boy network didn't want to happen, Now it's happening. How are you going to compete? Guess what? You get those transfers too. You got to adapt as a coach. You got to adapt. But a lot of times when you have so much success doing it your way, you don't see no need to. Thus, that's how uh, a dynasty starts to crumble. So I don't. To me, Coach Prime is the face of college football. When you got celebrities that's pulling up, like think about this. How often do you get celebrities to pull up to a Colorado Buffaloes game, football game? This ain't USC. This ain't Miami. This ain't Alabama. Think about that. This ain't Michigan. This ain't Ohio State. This is Colorado. All eyes is focused on Colorado. That generates interest. That generates money. That's what Coach Prime is doing right now. And you got to look at it from this standpoint. When he took over for Colorado, leaving Jackson State, he first off, he told Jackson State, hey, I'm gonna have to entertain it. They thought, oh, well, a contract is a contract, not understanding the business of sports. That's their fault. Okay. He took the job. Ironically, Colorado didn't even have the money to pay him, but they got the money to pay him. So what's that telling you? If you really want to get that money to pay a guy that you know is an investment for you, you're gonna have to figure out a way to get that money to pay that guy. Just saying. But right now, when you talk about college football, right? And listen, let's just be honest. How many people gonna watch the Colorado versus Colorado State game? A whole lot of people. A whole lot of people gonna be watching it. And you gotta think who he has after Colorado State. You got Oregon and USC. All eyes is gonna be on Colorado. Here's the thing. Other schools are selling out tickets because they want to see that. So it's good for business for not only Colorado, but it's also good for business for the other schools that's going against Colorado, and Colorado's going to their school to play them. So it's good for business all the way around, right? Now nobody's saying Colorado's going to win a national championship. They might not even win their conference championship, but it's the interest that they're bringing that gets fans to say, "Oh, my team ain't playing right now, but oh yeah, I'm gonna watch Colorado, even though my team don't play till later on. I'm watching Colorado." So that's what I think that's why I think Deion Sanders right now is the face of Colorado. And here's the thing too. I know y'all seen the clips of him talking to his team and everything like that. Why when you hear his speeches, it makes you feel like I want to go pack up my bags and I want to go play for that guy. That's what it feels like. And I think Kirby Smart has this similar thing as well. But with Coach Prime, you feel like that's a guy I want to play for. No other questions. That's a guy I want to play for. And people forget he can really coach. He can really coach. He ain't just. It's very rare to get a pro football Hall of Famer, what some people consider a top 10 greatest football player of all time, right? In terms of defensive players, he's probably top 5 greatest defensive players, right? He up there with Lawrence Taylor. He's up there with Reggie White. You know, who else is up there? Greatest defensive players. It's quite a bit. There's a lot of defensive players, but he's up there with those guys. And to have that guy to coach you, man, who would pass up that time? I know I wouldn't. I wouldn't pass that up. I can't. So that's just me. I believe Coach Deion Sanders is the face of college football right now. He brings a level of excitement, not only to his school, but say to the casual fan, right? Um, or those who might be a fan, because we all know when it comes to college football, you're a fan of that team, right? Because it's probably your hometown or you attended that school. You're going to be a fan of that team. And even they got their eyes glued to him to see what's going on. So I just think that to me makes Coach Prime the face of college football. So y'all let me know, man, in the comments, man. Y'all tell me how y'all feel about that. Uh, do you believe Coach Prime is the face of college football? And if so, um, tell me why. If not, you know, tell me why. But I would say for the haters out there who don't believe in Coach Prime, is it football related or is it something else? Because you see a lot of people with platforms out there who don't really appreciate the style of which Coach Prime is doing things. They don't really appreciate that. And you got to remember, Deion Sanders was in the media. He was in the media for a while. So he understands how the media works. And we know there's a long history of guys who worked in the media and end up getting coaching jobs, whether it's basketball, whether it's football, baseball, they end up getting coaching jobs. So I just think that a lot of people who's hating on Coach Deion is not because it's football related. I think there's other aspects that they don't really necessarily like. So, but that's on you guys. You know what I mean? I'm really loving what Coach Deion Sanders is doing. Hey, Coach Prime, man, if you ever get an opportunity, man, or have some free time, I would love to have you on this podcast. I would love to have you on this podcast, and maybe one day, you could talk football and talk life with me. So hopefully you listen, or whoever is listening to this, or any of your fans is listening to this. Man, y'all let Coach Prime knows, man. I really am a fan of his. From his day, excuse me, from his days of no, we thinking about playing for Atlanta, San Francisco, Dallas. Man, it's yeah. He a huge fan of his, man, and hey, keep doing what you're doing, Coach Prime. And shout out to your son, man. He is. Hey, look, I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna be glued in. If let's just say, I think by the time the USC game come around, I believe Colorado probably will be 4-1 or 3-1. I'm sorry, 3-1, or they could be 4-0, depending on what they do in Oregon. So we'll see what happens, but I'm gonna watch that game because you got two of the Heisman hopefuls, Caleb Williams, who's trying to go back to back. But man, what's his nickname? I don't know what his nickname. Y'all tell me what his nickname is, but Sanders, man, Shedeur Sanders, yo, he's talented. So we shall see. Okay. Um, man, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be a great weekend, man. I hope you guys have a great weekend yourself. Remember, make sure y'all follow Drinking After Dark podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Subscribe to Drinking After Dark podcast YouTube channel. Episodes are uploaded every Friday right here on YouTube. Or catch it on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Please support, tell your friends and family about it, man. Let's get these numbers up. Until next time, I'm out. Peace.
Gotta get to the money. Gotta get to the money. Early morning, so you know that I'm on it. So you know that I'm on it. Gotta make sure that my family straight. Gotta make sure that the kids and me. Gotta make sure that the bills is paid. And then let's get to the money. Get to the money. Early morning, so you know that I'm on it. And gotta make sure that my family straight. Gotta make sure that the kids and they. Gotta make sure that the bills is paid. And then let's get to the money. Get to the money.